What's going on, people of YouTube? I'm Steven with Purpose Lens Photo and Media, and today I'm gonna give you 6 tips to help you get sharper photos. So now this is something that I hear a lot in groups that I'm in, and I hear it a lot personally. People send me messages and they're asking, how do I get sharp photos? So today we're gonna be talking about the A6400, but this goes for any camera system, whether you're using a DSLR or mirrorless camera, any camera that has an interchangeable lens, and even some that don't. So tip number 1 is going to be the lens that you choose. Now, this may seem pretty obvious, but a lot of people don't know this. All lenses are not created equal. And what I mean by that is there are different quality glass that is in the lens. There are different elements that are in the lens. Now, what an element is a piece of glass that's in a lens. Distortion is basically the warping of the picture. So you may see fringing, or you may see things on the edge of the picture that actually take it out of focus. Sometimes it could even be in the center of the lens. So what you want to do is find or pick a lens that has quality glass in it, that has less diffraction, less distortion in that lens. Now, a way to find a good lens is to read reviews, look at sample pictures, watch YouTube videos. These are going to be the things that is going to help you to be able to see what lens has quality glass in it. I'm using the Sigma 16mm 1.4 right now. This is an excellent lens, very sharp, even wide open at 1.4. You can get some really good, sharp quality images. So that's number 1, is choosing good glass. Now, moving on to number 2 is gonna be your shutter speed. Now, if you don't know what shutter speed is, click here and check out the video I did on shutter speed. I'm not gonna go into details now, but what I will do is just give you a overall view of what shutter speed is. So the faster your shutter is, the less blur you're gonna get in your photo. So what you wanna do is make sure your shutter speed is adjusted according to whatever it is that you're shooting. Sometimes you may want blur in your photo, sometimes you may not. For the times that you don't and you want a crisp, clear picture, then what you wanna do is make sure your shutter speed is set correctly. And I'm gonna piggyback on that and also put in aperture as well. So your aperture is gonna also play a huge role in how sharp the image is. Typically, if you want a sharp image, you wanna use a higher aperture. You don't want a wide aperture like 1.4. You wanna use something like f8. F8 and up, typically on most lenses are gonna give you a very sharp image. So remember, your shutter speed and your aperture, they're gonna play a huge role in getting a sharp image. Now, moving on to point 3, this one may seem pretty obvious as well, but again, many people look over this for some reason, I don't know. But having a clean lens, I cannot stress this enough, folks. There's nothing like having a full day of shooting, whether you're shooting a wedding, whether it's photography or video. You get home, you find out that you have this smudge either right in the center of your photo or your video or on the corners, and it's distracting. And the picture is ruined. There's nothing like that. So if you don't know how to clean a lens, what you want to do is click this video up here. I did a video not too long ago about how to clean your lens. And what you can do is always make sure you also use a lens cap when you're not using your lens. Cover it up. Also, UV filter is a good protection as well to not scratch or damage your lens. So that's going to be number 3. Now, moving on to number 4. So the 4th thing is post-processing. What you may not know, if you're looking at a magazine or if you're looking at a website and the pictures are crisp, clear, and they're beautiful and they're sexy and you really want an image like that, what you may not realize is that this photo has been edited. There's some post-processing that has been done. Now, there are special programs out there like Photoshop, Lightroom, Capture One. These programs allow you to manipulate the photo from its original state. And you can change things like hue, saturation, contrast, and also the sharpness. So again, keep in mind that when you're looking at these photos, they may be a lot sharper than what you're able to get out of your camera. Another technique is focus stacking. It's taking multiple photos and blending them together. So don't always look at something and think, oh, my camera can't get that sharp. Because again, what you may be looking at is a manipulated photo. So just keep that in mind. All right, so point number 5 is to shoot raw. So if you don't know what raw is when you take a photo and you're taking all of the information directly off of the camera sensor and you're putting it onto the SD card. Now, the other option you have is to shoot in JPEG. Now what JPEG is a compressed format, which means your camera will take away some of the information and just throw it away because it doesn't use it or it doesn't need it. And it bakes in your saturation, your hue, and all that stuff into the picture. And what that means for you is you don't have the ability to manipulate that photo inside of those programs like Photoshop, Lightroom, and Capture One as much as you would if you had shot RAW. So I can't stress enough how important it is to shoot RAW. So if you're not shooting RAW, shoot RAW. Now, if you're not comfortable working with RAW, most modern cameras nowadays allow you the option to both shoot in RAW and JPEG at the same time. And the reason you want to do that is because if you're a beginner now, you may not know how to use RAW, but in the future, when you get your skills up and you get your feet wet, then you can go back to those RAW files that you shot when you were a beginner and you can edit those into some beautiful photos. So that is going to be point number 5. So moving on to the last point, which is point number 6, that is handling the camera. Now this one may seem obvious as well, but how you hold the camera makes a huge difference in how sharp your photos are gonna be. If you're shaking the camera all around, if you're trying to do cartwheels and backflips, it's not gonna come out sharp. It's gonna be blurry, it's gonna be shaky, even if your shutter speed is fast, even if your aperture is set correctly, even if your lens is clean, and even if you go in later with post-processing and you try to fix it. Whatever you take is what you're going to have to work with. So make sure that you're handling the camera properly. So this right here is a good way to hold the camera when you're taking a photo. If you notice, the elbows are pulled to the chest and the camera is fully supported in the hands. Now, you don't want to have a death grip on your camera. You just want to hold it lightly, just enough so that you have a firm grip and that you're not going to drop it. This way, you're in control of everything. And another thing that may seem weird, and this is going to really make a huge difference if you're shooting on a long lens like a telephoto lens, is control your breathing. So just like if you're going to shoot a gun, what you want to do is you hold your breath and you take the photo. Now, this isn't something that you're going to use all the time, but if you're trying to catch like a bird on a branch and the bird is really far away, like 400 yards, and you're using a long lens, breathing is going to make a huge difference. So folks, that wraps up the 6 tips for getting sharp photos. If these videos have been helpful to you, feel free to subscribe and share it as well. Leave your comments below if you have any negative feedback or positive. I would rather the positive feedback, but if you have something negative to say, I'll listen to that too. But anyway, I just want to encourage you guys to go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, because there's gonna be a lot more information like this coming along, not just talking about sharpness and lenses, but we're gonna talk about everything. So again, thank you to my subscribers, those who have been faithful since day one. I appreciate you guys. But anyway, until then, I'll holla at y'all. I'm out. Peace.
They may be blind to me, just wait and see.